Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Beasley, Cal
TPA
TPA
coordinator.
coordinator, and I've received a lot of questions on funds of knowledge and asset-based instruction, asking what they are, why they're important, and how to approach K through 12 curriculum and instruction, and how to develop lessons with these in mind. So I hope to address these questions and help K through 12 teachers as well as support providers in developing lessons and curriculum. The concept, known as funds of knowledge, actually originated sometime in the early 1980s, and it was developed to address what was known as deficit thinking in education. And deficit thinking is the idea that students, especially minority students or those from low income families or underrepresented communities, perform poorly in school because of their deficits, the things that they don't know, or conditions of their community or home life. And these students are usually blamed for low performance and are often labeled as unmotivated or uneducated. And the claim is that they don't have family support or access to certain resources. And so for teachers, the focus is on what these students don't have or don't know, their deficits. So researchers conducted some investigation and studied the daily lives, behaviors, and cultural practices of US Mexican families and identified certain abilities, skills, bodies of knowledge, and social and cultural ways of interacting, all which they called funds of knowledge. And although all students have these funds of knowledge, the research was specific to those identified as low income, underrepresented, or high risk due to how they're perceived in the classroom. Funds of knowledge includes a collection of those skills and abilities, the knowledge and information that has been passed down historically through generations, knowledge gained from life experiences, traditions, social skills and practices, information learned through family, community, and cultural experiences. Funds of knowledge can include things like how to repair a car, changing a tire, or changing the oil. It can include cooking, sewing, caring for a younger sibling, or even things like yard work, maintaining a garden, or even money management. And although these are all things that require a certain level of skill and knowledge, they're not necessarily identified as academic or things that are expected to be effective in a traditional classroom setting. But still, they do contribute to a body of knowledge that some students possess. So the study into funds of knowledge highlights the fact that education, those gaps in learning opportunities and delivery of instructional content, can be more meaningful and relatable to students if teachers learned about their students' cultures, households, backgrounds, and everyday life, and then use that information when developing curriculum, instruction, and lessons. And this is where funds of knowledge and asset-based instruction connect. Asset-based instruction is rooted in understanding funds of knowledge. It's getting to know your students, focusing on their skills and strengths, and building instruction around those strengths. And asset-based instruction requires a change in what educators think about students and how they learn. It's a growth mindset, recognizing the positive skills and abilities that students already possess and using that information, challenging students in higher level thinking to apply knowledge in different ways and continue to build additional learning. Asset-based instruction highlights and focuses on students' strengths, what they know, what they understand, their cultural background, family dynamics, language, skills, all of their personal and educational experiences. All of these things are seen as assets, positive strengths and knowledge that students have. And instruction is developed and delivered with all of these in mind. It's focused on what students can do rather than what they can't do. Funds of knowledge and asset-based instruction are key to addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the classroom. So where does the educator start? How can teachers begin to provide asset-based instruction and take into consideration funds of knowledge when creating lessons? The first step is always getting to know your students. And you can do this in a number of ways. Have students write essays or create projects about their backgrounds or interest or culture. You can have students complete reflective journals or other class assignments, use questionnaires, parent conferences, home visits, talking to previous teachers, or here's an idea, talking to your students. And you'll find more information out about your students. And when you do that, document what you've learned and develop a list of their skills and their interests. And this is what's called a Funds of Knowledge Inventory Matrix. And this is simply a chart that you create that includes a list of categories that represent student interest or activities that they may engage in outside of school. And you can't develop this overnight. This is something that will take some time to complete, and should be continually developed as you learn more about your students, their families, and their interests. And the matrix is also a good way to document and remember what your students are interested in and identify their strengths or their assets. Whenever you find an area of interest from one of your students, write it down. Then identify some context, the home, the community practice, or experience of the student within that area. After this, you can make a note of different classroom or instructional approaches connecting classroom activities to the student's interest. And the idea is to develop an extensive list that represents the funds of knowledge and assets or strengths of all of your students. And that way, you have a resource of information and examples to use when you're developing lessons. And when you're planning instruction, you can easily address funds of knowledge and provide asset-based instruction, which makes content more relatable, more interesting, or familiar, and it also motivates students to be more engaged. So I hope this helps in understanding funds of knowledge and asset-based instruction, what they are, why they're important, and how to approach curriculum and instruction, and how to develop lessons with these in mind.